Hi, in Elixir, they have this pipe operator. So in this example, I am defining this list of integers and piping it to the with index function that allows me to access the index and the index for each element. And the output from with index, I'm gonna pipe it to the each function, and I'm gonna print like these stars duplicated. I'm just gonna run this example in front of you. So it's the name of the module, then the name of the function. It's gonna print these. It's a simple example. I'm trying to learn Elixir, but I really like this pipe operator. It's basically this pipe character and then an arrow, but I'm using a font that will make it look like this, and this is also just a dash and an arrow, but my font will make it look like this. So I'm gonna implement the same kind of logic in JavaScript, but I can't like I'm not sure how I can implement or add a new character or new token to the language. So it won't look the same, but it will do the same thing. And I'm gonna add it to the function constructor function that exists globally, so you can use it anywhere. Or to be specific, I'm gonna put it in the function prototype. The Yeah, I'm just gonna show you. It's much easier. So to start, we have two versions. We have the normal pipe operator. I'm gonna define a pipe function. You can pass to it a starting value. In our previous example in Elixir, we have this list of items. Then I piped the list of items to the with index function. The output from that got piped down to the each function. I'm gonna implement the same logic. I'm gonna just call it pipe, and I'm gonna implement a second version which deals with promises. So that's basically the idea. To start, I'm gonna start with the normal pipe function. I'm gonna access the prototype of the function constructor function. Uh, Almost everything in JavaScript is an object, and functions are objects. And just to prove that to you, I'm gonna open the console. I'm gonna define const my function equal this, and my function, I can access the length. If you are wondering what the length are, it's the length of the arguments. So let's define my function 2. So args1, arg2, and if I did the same thing with my function 2, it will give me length of 2. In case if you can't see that, you can. So it's a function. It's an object that contains some property. One of them is the bind and call functions. So they exist on the function prototype. I can prove that to you. You will see the bind. I'm not sure why they don't show the native code, but this is this function. I can actually just make it null. And now if I try to just define a function, x. Now if we try to call x.bind, it will throw an error because it's a null. Let me show it to you. So it's a null. So yeah, this is, if you are interested about these subjects, you can check out this book. It's called Prototypal Inheritance. You don't know JavaScript. It's a free book. It exists on GitHub by Kale Simpson. I'm gonna put a link in the description, but the name of the books, You Don't Know JavaScript. Yeah, they are free, which is very nice. I think it exists in the third book. I only read like the first three. I'm planning to read the next three. So yeah, it's very nice. They are here. Yeah, anyway, so that's basically the idea. I'm gonna access the prototype, and I'm gonna add a function called pipe. And I believe this is like a proposal in JavaScript. I'm not sure if this will be like released into JavaScript. Like you can use it now, maybe in the future. I'm not sure, but maybe one day. It's not that important, but it's really nice. I prefer if they add a syntax, not just like a function like this, like a syntax like Elixir. Maybe this. I would like that. Anyway, so you can use an arrow function or a normal function, but I'm not gonna use the this keyword. So the this keyword here will point to the function that called the pipe function from it, or the function that accessed the pipe property in it. So, and I'm not gonna use the this keyword, so this could be a normal function. This is one difference between functions. The function declaration using the function keyword and arrow functions is, in arrow functions this keyword will be bounded to the this in the outer scope, but in functions, the function declaration using function keyword, it will be bounded to the object that called this function. You can also play with that with bind and call. Sorry, it's a long introduction, but I think it's important because the code might look strange. And if you look at, let me actually open the Elixir example just to follow it up, just to follow with it. We have a starting value, so we need to define that. I'm going to call it start. And we need somehow to get all of the functions and just pass down the output from each one of them to the next one, and so on until we end up with a value. So to do this, you could accept an array of functions. This could be called, for example, like this, function.pipe, and this is the starting value 1, and you can pass multiple functions like this. But I prefer different syntax, which is I'm gonna just pass them like this using comma, and somehow this should be an array. To do this, you can use the spread operator here. So everything after the first argument, everything here will be added to the array of functions object list array. So I'm gonna just call it functions like this. Now I need, if I need to loop over them, and for each one of them I'm gonna execute it, pass the previous value, and do this until I run all the functions. We can use reduce, right? So I'm just gonna return funcs.reduce. I'm gonna start with the start value, and this will be the previous value, and this is the current function. I'm just gonna return the current function, give it the previous. And since this is a single line, I could remove the return and remove the body. I'm just gonna use now prettier. It will look like this. Now to run it, just to prove to you that this is actually functional, I have already an example. It's a like stupid example, but you can make it complex. This is like very flexible in my opinion. So it's the same function but with different names. So it just gets the previous value and adds to it 1. And now to use it, I'm gonna first show you the usage of these functions, how we can use the output from the first one as an input to the second one, and the output from the second one as an input to the third one, and so on. This will look something like this. So I'm gonna call function 1, pass with the starting value, which is 1. Now I'm gonna call function 2, give it the output of that. Of course, you can write it in a much prettier way, but I'm just gonna show you what someone could do that, how someone could do that. And now let's do function 4. Let's do function 5. As you can see, this will look like this, which is, I mean, it's fine in my opinion. Like, who cares? But here's how this will look like in the pipe operator. So const result 2 would be equal to function.pipe. I'm gonna pass 1, and then I'm just gonna pass the functions like this. Function 3, function 5, and if I console log these result, and they will be the same. So node pipe, they will be 6, which is the same. So maybe this is much nicer. It depends on your taste. Maybe something to make it. This looks strange because you never write something like this in JavaScript, but it's fine. I don't see anything wrong with it. But you can do this. You can destruct it from the function. So that's for the pipe. If you prefer something like more descriptive, maybe I have this composing composing functions in JavaScript and Python. I think I wrote this like a couple of years ago or a year ago. Is that me? Yeah, that's me. Okay. Yeah, it's just 4-minute read. It's very, very nice. It's very simple. I'm gonna show you the same example, but it's called function composition in JavaScript and in Python. Um, I'm gonna put a link in the description for it. But yeah, here is the Python version. Looks much, yeah, anyway. So now this is very easy, but now let's actually look at the async pipe. It's also easy, but I think it's very interesting. So I'm gonna just copy paste these functions, but I'm gonna make them return a promise by defining them as asynchronous functions. And now I'm just gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna add it to the prototype. I think it makes sense there. And in terms of object-oriented, all the function instances in our like application, they will in their proto they will point to this prototype, which will have this async pipe. Like if you are wondering if this is like the base object, or this prototype is the base object for all the functions, don't we like add this extra property in each one of them? Well, the thing is, this will be just a reference. So we are defining this function only one time, no matter how many functions we have. They all point to it. Okay, we are not like adding so much extra things in our app. It's just single function. Just in case you were wondering about that. But yeah, anyway, so I'm gonna call this async pipe, and I'm gonna just define it as a synchronous raw function, because I'm not gonna use this keyword. If you are gonna use it, if you need it, define that as a function keyword, function declaration. The same thing, I'm gonna start with a start value, then I'm gonna accept all the functions like this. Now, what I need to do, I want to run these functions in parallel. I need to await each one of them and resolve their promise, get the value resolved, and pass it to the next function, and so on. To do this, you can't just do functions dot like for each, or what did we do? You can't do reduce, because let's say, let's just write it like this. If we define this as async, and let's say await or data equal await the func, I need to, like, this is the previous, this is the function, and now we need to return the data. This actually won't work, because you will loop synchronously. You will loop synchronously on the array of functions, and each one of them you will execute this asynchronous callback function. Okay, so if you think about it, like all of these execution of the same callback function won't be synchronous. They will be asynchronous. So you are not actually awaiting each other here. It's a little bit confusing, but you are not awaiting any. You are awaiting this function in that function execution, but in overall, in the reduce, like in each time you call this, the current one does not wait for the previous execution of this callback function. The way you do it, I think it's a special like syntax. You will use for off, and you will put here await. What you can do, let's loop over functions, and I'm just gonna define here a let res equal to start, and just I'm gonna say result equal func, and pass to it result, which is the previous value, and just await it. This will actually work. Now just return result. Now I'm gonna run this in front of you. I'm gonna define a function called async result. Does not matter the name. This will be async. And so the normal way you're gonna use this, there is multiple ways. I'm gonna show you using .then callback functions. So const result will be equal await promise. Let's just like pretend we have already a resolved value, or maybe Yeah, let's just pretend we are starting with a promise. So we have a resolved promise with of 1. Now dot then I'm gonna execute the first asynchronous function, and I'm gonna just repeat this multiple times like this. So this will be 2, 3, 4, 5. And result now will be 6. Let's actually call the function. So node async pipe, it will be 5 because, okay, I did not call the function 1. So then now it will be 6. Okay. The second thing, you can await each one, but I'm not sure that's meaningful in this context. What I'm saying that, let's say you have 1, and you can say data equal await 1, and now 2 will be equal, you will pass to it data. Oops. This would be like this, and you will keep repeating that if you need something like this. But I'm just gonna continue with the pipe example. So this is one way to call that. Using our async pipe, it will be, so result 2 will be equal to function dot async pipe. The starting value is 1. Then I'm just gonna pass the references of each function, and that's it. They look very they look alike, right? But yeah, but this is how you do it. In my opinion, I really don't care if this like became part of the language or not. I don't think it matters. It's just nice, but who cares? Okay, let me just await that because it's gonna retain a promise. It's an asynchronous function. Okay, it's 6, 6. Yeah, I hope this was useful in any way. Maybe opened your eyes on some of things. But yeah, I saw it on Elixir. I thought, hey, that's very nice. And I actually seen some proposals, like I said, online for this to be added in JavaScript. And I have seen one like I think the syntax were something dot like this, or I think it's like this. I don't remember. But if I found a way to introduce a new syntax or a new token to the language, I will definitely make a video about it. It seems very, very nice. Uh, yeah, that's it. I'm not sure if I upload this video. I feel it's very basic, but yeah, maybe I will. I'm not sure. Okay. Bye.